Hey guys, so I'm at a Starbucks. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. Today, we're going to talk about not keto clarity, bomb-ass Jimmy Moore book on how to keto adapt and all the information you need to know. No, we're going to talk about, it's about darn time, a glucometer, otherwise known or spelled glucometer. Now, what this does is pretty fantastic. What this does is it shows you the amount of ketones in your blood. So if I turn it on, and as it calibrates, you can see that this is a dual precision extra. It can measure your blood glucose and your blood ketones. That's what we want. Before I used to encourage people just to measure their ketones, but now I'm getting people to measure their glucose and their ketones to get a more precise reading on if they're in ketosis. So let's look more at it closely. Okay, so you have to get this essential precision extra. This is the most credible glucometer. Then you have the strips. So these are the strips. This one is for the ketones. So these are ketone strips. And this different colored one is your glucose strip. Yeah? You want to use both when measuring your ketones and your glucose. Now, how you measure your blood ketones is you actually have to prick your finger like a diabetic. And essentially, these machines were designed for people who are diabetic, and they have precision extra glucometers that just measure glucose, but they just started to design a dual glucometer so people who've got type 1 diabetes don't go too high on their ketones because they can develop acid ketones. We don't want that. So here we go. Let's keep checking out how we're going to put this all together. So we've got the pricker here. So I'm trying to not get people in the video clearly. So if you see the needle up close, it's a really tiny needle, and this would be the cap for the actual apparatus that's going to prick your finger, draw tiny little minuscule amount of blood that then you would put on this strip if I was to measure my ketones. Right? And this is a gauntlet. This is like you would want to, they really encourage you to switch out your needles each prick so you don't get any bacteria in the blood. Alright, so this is my preferred. Now people are using breathalyzers these days to measure the acetone, but I prefer the actual blood glucose and ketone meters because you can measure both. So let's say that your blood glucose is around 85. Now that would be normal for a person who's a carb burner. Anything below 100. Now, people who are carb burners, if they go below 70, they can go into a coma, yeah? Because then their blood glucose would be too low. But when you're in ketosis, your body starts to use units of fat. So then we would want our glucose to be down-regulated, so our ketones would be up. We always want, if you have a low glucose number, which would be 50 to 70, or 50 to 76, we always want low glucose and high ketones, and it should be in that opposition. Otherwise, if you've got ketones too high, or if you've got glucose too low, and they're not in opposition, then it could be a problem. So let's get back to it here, you guys. So finally, you get to see this lovely glucometer. This is what I suggest. This is a weight. Did I say weight? This is a great way to measure, for example, this is a great way to kind of mess with food or exercise or sleep. A lot of you guys have a dysbiosis of the gut, you have leaky gut, you have allergies that you're not aware of, and your ketones will drop dramatically if you have some type of inflammation in the body. So the range for your ketones would be between 0.5 and 6 for an example, as an example. Most people generally don't go higher. Some people go up to about 6.7, but the sweet spot is around now 1.8 to 2.5 or 3. That's when you know that your brain is starting to use more of your own fat or dietary fat as its primary source of fuel, more in that direction. Your body can use glucose and ketones at the same time, and that's not putting you in a highly adapted keto state. If you're using both, if you have a blood glucose of 85 and in the morning, and you test in the morning fasted on an empty stomach, that's the range that we want. And if you have a higher glucose number and a high, remember they have to be in opposition, or high ketone, you're not highly adapted. That means that the brain still hasn't crossed that bridge over to ketosis land and started to just burn ketones. So what we want is to get acetyl-CoA into the Krebs cycle. So today, as an example, I was speaking to a guy who was getting ready for a fitness competition, and he was carb depleting, and he had just finished a carb load, and now he's going back to his deplete. And he's okay because it's Monday. On Wednesday, he's going to feel like arse. But see, for those who are doing the ketogenic diet, which he didn't understand, I tried to explain it to him, and I was like, you can still build muscle in ketosis because you become so insulin sensitive. It doesn't take a lot of insulin then to get the amino acids into the muscle cell. So I'm always trying to encourage this whole fitness bodybuilding world to actually think about how you are in an anabolic state and not in a catabolic state. So the way that you measure it, you guys, I'm really trying to keep the camera down because I'm not trying to get everybody in this Starbucks on camera, but here we go. Let's take a last look at our glucometer. So if you guys ask me now, you don't have to ask me. You can just look at this little machine here, which is fantastic. So this is your basic glucose and ketone glucometer meter. Again, this is the needle you prick your finger with, very tiny, itty bitty. And we've got the actual gauntlet to switch out the needles, and we've got our paper strips. So guys, if you want to learn more on how to get into a state of freaking awesomeness, ketosis on the non-BS diet, you can go to stephanieperson.com or Stephanie the Business, because I got a fan page because my other page got filled up, and I try to answer every single person's question. Or you could go to my Instagram, yay, because all the young people at my gym are like, I gotta get on Instagram. So I'm now on Instagram, just Stephanie Ketogenic. Peace out, guys. Ding, 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 bing, bing.